العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على هديه إلى يوم الدين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Our dear respected man, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, our beloved nephew Ahmad allowed me to greet all of you the Islamic greeting and the meaning for this greeting for our viewer, attendees, brothers and sisters from other faiths. The meaning of this greeting say peace and the blessing of Allah be upon you all. When we initiate it in Arabic, we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. When you put your hand in one of the translation of the meaning of the verses in the Quran Kareem, either was written, the translation, not the Quran, was written by people who speak Arabic or non-Arabic speaking, you will find some copy in my library, in your library somewhere. They changed the name of the Surah Al-Baqarah. Why? Because in the beginning of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Musa alayhi salam to tell the people of Bani Israel to slaughter Baqarah, cow. But in the recitation of today, Allah does not mention the cow, He mentioned al-ajl, the calf. And some of the people who translate the Quran Kareem, they name this surah not by cow, but by al-ajl, C-A-L-F. Let us take it as just a piece of information, then go to the verses. Fadilat Sheikh, our Imam, Sheikh Riyad Abu Yazid recited today. This is the first time through all the recitation of the Quran Kareem, you will hear one call directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to the people of Bani Israel, not to the people of Ahlul Kitab, the people of the book, if there are believer or kuffar, but for you and me, and verse number 104. 104. This is the first time in all those 14 pages you will find the word Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu la taqulu ra'ina wa qulu unzurna, which means this is the first call for us. We have to open our ears, open our hearts, say from now all the way to the end of the surah, you will hear the word Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, or you will believe, or you will believe. Why I am putting those 2 points as introduction? Because Surah Al-Baqarah was revealed in Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. And the scholar, they said, this the first surah was revealed in Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. And if you look for the 5 pillars of Islam, the Shahadatain, the Salah, the Zakah, the Siyam, and the Hajj, and if you look for the 6th pillar of Iman, الإيمان بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر والإيمان بالقضاء خير وخير وشره, you will find all those things in one surah, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Ya Subhanallah. But in summary, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about the message of Musa alayhi salam and his people, and he said, take your message very serious. And the difference between the ummah of Musa and the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the nation of Musa alayhi salam, they said, Sami'na wa asayna. We listen and we disobey. But you and me, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, inshallah, our spouses, our children, our grandchildren, our friends, our jama'at in the masajid, our leader in the masajid, every Muslim, we have to say the opposite one, to say we listen and we obey. And this is the difference between the two nations Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about. Another difference between the two nations, the people of Bani Israel, they love this dunya too much. And some of them, they wish to live 1,000 years, longer than the age of Nuh alayhi salam, with 50 years. But you and me as the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inshallah, we have to love the akhirah. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. Another note, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is one of the longest verse in the Quran Kareem after Ayat al-Dayn, and Fadilat Sheikh Riyad and Abu Yazid can correct me. By looking how many lines in Ayat al-Dayn, in some of the copy of the Quran Kareem, the ayat of the whole safha, the whole page, 15 lines. But this ayat al-Sihr, the magician, try to read this verse and try to avoid either to believe or to go to those magician men or women, or the people lead the crystal ball, or the people play in Egypt. I love Egypt. Kochina, which means the card, and they try to read your hand. All this is kufr wal iyazu billah, is a shirk, is a disbelief in Allah. Why? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man ata kahinan aw arrafan wa saddaqahu bima yaqul faqad kafara bima nazala ala Muhammad aw kama qala." You know, imagine all those halaqat, 381. And all the surah the Mashayikh Jazakallah Khair recited, and still someone, maybe God forbid, among this halaqah, maybe will go to a magician, or maybe to read the crystal ball, or to play a card in the home, and to say, oh, tomorrow is going this and this to happen to you. That is a kufr wal iyaz billah. Stay away from it. And finally, my dear brother and sister, listen carefully how Allah is calling us to say, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقولوا راعنا وقولوا انظرنا واسمعوا وللكافرين عذاب أليم. May Allah protect us from kufr. May Allah increase our iman, and may Allah help us to enter Ramadan with a strong iman, with quwwah, with knowledge. And when we fast for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه يغفر لكم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاك الله خير شيخ حامد، بارك الله بك ونفعنا بما علمنا. ميساء، السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
تفضل.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته everyone.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Please allow me to start with the dua. اللهم بلغنا رمضان وأعنا على صيامه وقيام لياليه وتقبله منا. Oh Allah, let us reach the month of Ramadan and help us to fast its days and pray during its nights and accept it from us. Inshallah, 4 more days to the blessed month Ramadan. Muslims are excited and starting to prepare themselves for it. We might be a little overwhelmed, especially the women, thinking about how we are going to add extra ibadah while we have to go to work, complete houseworks, take care of the kids, and prepare suhoor and iftar daily. Just the thought of all this might drain us, but inshallah, with a little bit of planning ahead, we make the most out of this Ramadan. The most important thing to ensure that we achieve most of our goals in this Ramadan is to plan ahead. That means to prepare ourselves spiritually and physically. And alhamdulillah, for the last 2 halaqas, Our speakers, Brother Mubin and Mufti Niyaz, give us great tips on how to prepare ourselves for Ramadan spiritually and physically. And tonight, inshallah, our speaker will give us more advice on how to prepare ourselves, give us nutrition practices we can follow in the blessing month Ramadan, inshallah. If I'm not wrong, our speaker for tonight is the youngest speaker we had so far. She is a junior at Montclair State University studying psychology and cognitive science. She has a passion for community, health, and wellness. Prior to pursuing a career in psychology, she was a nutrition student and has done much research on her own about the impact of nutritional lifestyle changes. She hopes to teach people about the importance of nutrition and how food can have an impact on many aspects of our life, including our mental, physical, and emotional health. Please welcome with me our speaker, Sister Hafza. Assalamu alaikum, Hafza.
Wa alaikum salam.
Welcome in our program, and we are happy to have you.
It's nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Is it okay if I share my screen?
Oh, yes. The Brother Maraj.
Yes, please.
Can you-
Sister Hafsa, go ahead, share your screen.
All right. So as you guys have heard, nutrition's always been something that's been important to me and my family, and something that we have always given a lot of importance to. So I've the knowledge that I've learned is just from my own experience and things that I've done research on. It's not anything that I'm special. Also, just a disclaimer to put out here, I'm not a nutritionist, so take any information that I have with a grain of salt, and do your own research based off of what I say. So today I just want to impart any knowledge that I may have, and so that I can give you insight on nutrition and how you can use that during the month of Ramadan. So I just wanted to start off with a few hadith that are mentioned in our religion about food that we often kind of overlook. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "The son of Adam does not fill any vessel worse than his stomach. It is sufficient for the son of Adam to eat a few morsels to keep him alive. If he must fill it, then 1/3 for his food, 1/3 for his drink, and 1/3 for air." So oftentimes, I think especially in Ramadan, we fill our stomach up to the brim. And this obviously doesn't follow the sunnah, but that's what we do. And inshallah, going forth, we won't do it as much knowing this hadith. But yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know about this. The next hadith is kind of a frightening one that's narrated by Sayyidina Aisha, and she said, "The first calamity to befall this ummah after the demise of the Prophet is overeating. When a nation of people fills their bellies too much, their bodies become obese, their hearts become weak, and their passions cannot be controlled." So this is kind of scary because we see this in our nation, how rampant obesity is. And I think America is one of the #1 countries ranking in obesity. And it's only so far that we can, our hearts are going to become weak and our passions cannot be controlled. And we see that happening too at some levels. So I just wanted to, obviously everybody doesn't have their cameras on, or but you guys can raise your virtual hand if any of these statements apply to you during the month of Ramadan. So in Ramadan, do you gain more weight at the end of Ramadan? Do you feel too full to do anything after iftar? You feel hungry soon after suhoor?
After sahur.
You excessively nap before iftar? you keep eating even after you're full.
No.
You feel dizzy during the day.
No.
You feel hangry, which is like hungry and angry during the day. You prioritize your food more than your ibadah. You don't feel productive during Ramadan. So even if like all of these don't apply to you, I'm sure like at least one of them might. So inshallah, we'll talk about how our nutrition practices can during the month of Ramadan will make us not feel these things. So today we're going to talk about the 3 macronutrients that are the most important to eat during the month of Ramadan. So these would be the carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, and what our body is like while we're fasting, and the good sources of these of carbs, proteins, and fats, and bad sources. So just some information before we begin about the different food groups. So both men and women should be eating 45 to 65% of your daily calories should come from carbohydrates, 10 to 35% should come from proteins, and 20 to 35% of your calories should be coming from fats. And fiber varies a little bit for men and women. And I'm sure many of us don't really follow these statistics, but inshallah, we will follow them this coming Ramadan. So the first food group, carbohydrates. So I'm sure everybody has heard their fair share of how carbohydrates are not good for you, and like they'll make you fat, and they're just not good. Everybody tries to avoid carbs all the time. However, even though that's not completely wrong, there isn't some truth to this. So carbs are actually pretty good for you if it depends on the carbs that you're eating, because carbs are actually really good sources of they're really good at providing stored energy, blood sugar regulation, energy, and digestion for our body. So so we get a certain hormone so I'm sure everybody knows what glucose is. It's a sugar in our blood. So we get that from carbs, and it's the main form of energy in our body. So when we have too much glucose, it can be stored in our body for later use, and this is called glycogen. So our stored glycogen releases into our bloodstream whenever it feels like our blood sugar is too low. So that's why it's really important that we eat carbs during suhoor time, because it will give us energy throughout the day, and also it will help with our blood sugar regulation, which I'm sure many people have blood sugar problems, but carbs are actually good for that, because they'll help you release a good amount throughout the day so that you have energy. Also, carbs are really good for digestion, because there's a special type of carb called fiber that helps with digestion or helps you remove waste from your body. And some good examples of fiber-rich foods would be like oats, lentils, and legumes. So when you don't have enough suhoor when you don't have enough carbs during suhoor in the morning, this could make you feel really hungry earlier in the day, make you have low energy. You might want to take long naps until iftar time, and you can also feel dizzy. So we should all be eating carbs during suhoor. But then there's also another problem that happens where we might eat too much carbs during iftar time. And this could cause constipation, feeling bloated, or make you gain weight. So the next food group, proteins, which are very essential to our nutritional needs, because they provide structure, movement. They're part of our enzymes in our body, like hormone regulation, immunity, like helping like have a good immune system, satiety, and energy. So proteins provide enzymes in our bodies that allow biochemical reactions to occur. So without eating enough proteins, we won't be able to digest our foods properly. And also eating good sources of protein will allow us to create like really important proteins like collagen and elastin, which gives our body like the ability to move and this and like the muscle definition in our body so that we're able to like work and, you know, like hold things and, you know, just like continue on throughout our day. Also, our bodies also really need protein for our antibodies because if we don't have antibodies, then we won't be able to fight off infection, which is very important, especially during like the COVID era, because we want good antibodies to fight off any like colds or flu that might be going around in like our atmosphere. And also protein is a really good form of energy because our body first uses carbs and fats to get energy. And so protein like sits longer in our stomach. So, and like it helps us do it helps with all the other functions of our body. So the way that energy metabolizes from protein is that the proteins that we eat are broken down into amino acids, which are like smaller proteins. And then half of those go into protein synthesis in the body and the other half is used for energy. So if we don't have enough proteins while we're fasting, this can cause a lower immunity, which means that we'll probably fall sick. And we might also be getting muscle loss So the last most important group is fats. So I think many people usually think that fats are not good for you, but fats are actually very important for reasons that I will mention in a few seconds. But like, so we need to eat fats because it's important for vitamin absorption, insulin and temperature regulation, the structure of our body, just like how proteins are good for our structure. They're also important for our essential fatty acids, and they are a very big part of giving us energy throughout the day. So fats allow our like any vitamins that we get from our foods. They are the way that they're going to be absorbed in our system. So also eating good forms of fats, they provide us with insulin and temperature regulation. So there's a special type of fat called visceral fat that is around our organs and like our hands and like essential parts of our body, so that it'll allow us to know when we're feeling hot and cold. And so it's really important that we're eating good fats because they're very important for the way our body functions throughout the day. So similar to like the protein, the way that protein is metabolized, fat is also broken down into something smaller called fatty acids, and half of those fats go into storage, which will be used throughout our day, and then the other half goes towards energy. And if we don't eat enough fats while fasting, this could also result in lower immunity, making us fall sick. We might have an increase in appetite, so we're going to feel hungry all day. And we could also have mental fatigue, like, just your brain just feels tired and like you won't be able to concentrate and like do like work throughout the day. So it's really important that we eat good fats. And for women, it also could disturb our menstrual cycle. Having too much fat in Ramadan is usually when we're having too much of the wrong type of fat. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but this could result in high cholesterol levels, high LDL levels, and expanded waistline. So now we're going to talk about the good sources and bad sources of carbs, proteins, and fats. So some good sources of carbs, some good sources of carbs would be like pita bread, rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes. All vegetables are great sources of carbs, and so are all fruits. And legumes like kidney beans, chickpeas, fava beans. These are all really good ways to get your carbohydrates in during suhoor time. And honey is also a good carb. Oh, it's not good, but it's a better alternative to sugar. Sorry. And some bad sources would be white bread, refined pasta, refined sugar, sugar substitutes. All fruit juices are not good because they are filled with sugar. And if you eat too much of anything that's on the left, that is also not good for you. But I guess that's needless to say because anything of too much is not good for you. Some good sources of protein are chicken, meat, fish, eggs, and those are from the animal sources, and from plant sources like lentils, like dal. Oh, in my culture we say dal, but yeah, but like lentils, seeds, beans, oats, hemp seeds. These are all great sources of protein from plants. And from dairy, the dairy food group like Greek yogurt is full of protein, and cottage cheeses as well. But ways you shouldn't be getting your protein is from protein bars, whey protein, flavored yogurt, protein shakes, and deli meat. These are very processed, and protein bars, whey protein, flavored yogurt, protein shakes, these are all filled with sugar. So like you're not even going to get any of the protein that you should be getting from it. Good sources of fat would be avocados, any type of nuts, fish like salmon and sardines, chia seeds, organic milk. So, and this would also, you should get like organic cheese and organic yogurt because usually our milk is very processed. Like if you don't get it organic, and they take out all the nutrients, so you won't be really getting any fat from it. And like non-fat milk is kind of a problematic issue, but we won't really talk about that here. And organic eggs and grass-fed chickens are also really, from grass-fed chickens are really good sources of fats. For oil, you should, if you want to use a liquid oil, you should use avocado oil or extra virgin olive oil because these are the best forms of liquid oil to get fat from. And for solid oil, butter, coconut oil, and ghee are really good sources of fat. However, when you'll notice on the bad sources for liquid oil, canola oil and olive oil are very not good at all because they are very processed, and they're usually not, like especially canola oil is filled with not good things, especially in America. Solid oil, butter is good and bad, but like obviously like you shouldn't have too much of it. But like the fake butters, like I can't believe it's not butter, margarine are not good to eat because they're usually not really butter, and I think it's made out of canola oil. And any foods or drinks that are like commercial red meat and commercial whole milk are not good sources of fat. So we're just going to talk about like some things that we can do for meal prepping this Ramadan. So some ways to help us better like our nutrition during this upcoming month is to make a weekly meal plan so that when you go to the grocery store, you're not just like bringing in random things, and like you have like a list and you are set with what you're going to bring, because usually when we're hungry we when we're hungry and go to the grocery store, we'll just put stuff that we don't need really, and usually it's not very healthy stuff. So that's why we should make a grocery list and stick to the grocery list. You should also choose one day in the week to prepare, and usually weekends are best. And meal prep your suhoor after Tarawih prayer, because it'll be easier for you in the morning, because usually you'll be tired and like you don't really want to like create like an elaborate meal in the morning. So it's better to do it after Tarawih prayer. Try to use a slow cooker or instant pot, because you can make like big batches of food at a time. And also something else that you can do is freeze some homemade iftar snacks and meals before Ramadan starts, so that you have something for like your iftar time, and it's not going to be anything that's like unhealthy. So here's just like a sample meal plan that you could have during suhoor time. So for suhoor, you could have eggs, like a slice of sprouted bread, a smoothie which is filled with avocado, fruit, vegetables, yogurt, which is all like fats, carbs, and protein that you're getting in that smoothie, and drink 1 to 2 cups of water. For iftar, you can break your fast with dates and milk, pray maghrib, and then have dinner. And this could be made up of rice, vegetables, chicken, fruit, and 2 cups of water. And then you can pray your Isha and Tarawih prayer, and then you could have like 2 snacks after that time, which is like a cup of fruit and some water, or like nuts, berries, and rolled oats, or like granola or something like that. So I just want to close off with the same hadith that we talked about before we started. The son of Adam does not fill any vessel worse than his stomach. It is sufficient for the son of Adam to eat a few morsels to keep him alive. If he must fill it, then 1/3 for his food, 1/3 for his drink, and 1/3 for air. And the second hadith, the first calamity to befall this ummah after the demise of its prophet is overeating. When a nation of people fills their bellies too much, their bodies become obese, their hearts become weak, and their passions cannot be controlled. So inshallah, I hope that this Ramadan is filled with blessings and some good nutrition, and we are using our time wisely during this month. I see that there's some hands raised. Imam Shibli, would you like to?
Yes, with your permission. First of all, Jazakallah khair, Jazakallah khair, Jazakallah khair, and Jazallah Maissa khair by bringing you to teach us something about the 2 meals in Ramadan and the other 3 meals after Ramadan and before Ramadan. What I need from you, maybe you can give me personally, maybe 1 or 2 minutes in this age with the gray hair. What are the things we supposed to eat on the time of the iftar and in the time of the suhoor, because there is no big meal traditionally we are going to have this year, because we are not open the masajid for big iftari. If you can give us little summary about what we're supposed to eat during the iftar and during the suhoor, without going to all the list, you give us maybe 100 names. I'm not familiar with all of them, but give me from your mother kitchen, what is your mother taught you about to eat and not to eat during Ramadan, inshallah, just to keep those items, to be healthy and to be able to make the tarawih, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah, of course. Well, some of the stuff that I said over here is something that you could eat for like suhoor. You could eat like egg, and you can, or like something that we eat often is like avocados on toast. It's like a very popular dish that like younger people have been really accustomed to. But yeah, you could eat that, or eggs. A smoothie is really good because it's fast and easy to digest in the morning. So like you could put like an avocado in there, fruit, vegetables like kale or spinach. Those are really good vegetables to put in your smoothies, and yogurt and milk, and then just blend that up, and inshallah that would be a good suhoor. For iftar time, I'm sure like anything that you make at home will be healthy. So it's just like any traditional food is usually good to eat during iftar time. It's just like don't overindulge, and usually like don't eat too many fried foods, like just eat in moderation.
Jazakallah khair. Just follow up comment. You warning us not to be attached too much to those kind of drink. Orange juice, apple juice, Pepsi, 7-Up, all this thing. Is that, I mean, is a very serious issue. If somebody take 1 can every day, or maybe just, you know, to have some enough, what you call it, caffeine just for the coffee and tea, the people drink it just to stand up for Taraweeh, or we can divorce. I divorce all this drink at all during the month of Ramadan. What is your recommendation? I'm talking about the age. Don't I mean compare my age to your age or any other age, please.
No, for any age, I would never recommend drinking Pepsi or Coke or any of those sugary drinks, because they are not good for you. Even if they'll give you a little bit of energy, they're going to make you crash at the end of the night. So it's good to, if you want some energy, like green tea is a really good option. But I wouldn't really, like, I would steer away from coffee unless you can handle it that late in the evening. Tea is also good, like black tea. But yeah, also fruit juices are not good because they're usually filled with sugar. So you shouldn't.
Thank you.
No problem. Sister Noor.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi. Thank you for all of this information. And Maissa, thank you for finding her and bringing her. I have autoimmune stuff, which some of this may help me, but I also do have tried to get protein, and one of the ways I've been doing it is getting the whey protein shakes, where I put my own milk, and it's almond coconut milk, and then put some of the whey powder in it, protein powder, and then blend that. And you're saying I'm doing wrong, if I understand.
Yeah. So it depends on the whey protein that you're using. So like, just make sure you're looking at the ingredients, and like sugar isn't part of that, because usually they're filled with sugar. So
Okay.
other, like some whey protein powders are good for you, but like usually like you'll get more protein from eating an egg than from protein powder.
Wow. Well, this says that it's like 60 per serving, and I cut it in half because I don't think I need 60 per serving. What about raisins? Dried fruit that aren't pushed down with all that sugar on it.
Yeah, it's good in moderation. They're a good source of carbohydrates, but also again in moderation, because like their sugar content is very high. And if that's something that you're watching, especially like blood sugar, that could become like, you could raise your blood sugar by eating too much of those.
Okay,
Like,
thank you. I learned a lot from you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
no problem. Sister Hala.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Hafza. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm doing well. All that you put on this, I eat all of that, but still it's the quantity that we always get mixed up in.
Mm-hmm.
I always say I gain weight from all the good food that I eat, but not, you know, I don't eat the bad food, but it's all good food. So how do you do this for portion control? Because a lot of us have the trouble with portions. That's our enemy.
That's true. That's why in the beginning, when I mentioned like how how much we should be getting from the amount of calories that we eat in a day. Here, let me just pull it up. So like 45 to 65% of our calories should be from like carbs, 10 to 35.
Give me an example of a carbohydrate measurement for a daily calorie, for example.
So like a cup of rice, I can't remember from the top of my head what I learned about this, but I think they said like a cup of rice is good for a day.
Okay.
And like one sweet potato would fall under like carbohydrates. Like, okay, these are just for the meat, like for your meals. Like, so like a cup of rice for like one meal, one sweet potato for one meal. Like these are just like options. For proteins, like one egg per meal would fill your daily calories. For fats, like half an avocado would per meal. Like I can't I
It's
would have
okay.
to,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm so sorry, but I just feel that most of us eat all the right things, but
yeah.
the portion of it is the problem. I think it's for me anyway.
Yeah,
My
that's
eyes are
definitely
more
true.
than my appetite, or vice versa.
Yeah. Also it depends per person because you're like the reason why I gave like these percentages is because like for a taller person, like they would have a different, like they could probably have 2 cups of rice and that would be sufficient for them. But for like a shorter person, like they can only have like maybe, yeah, like 1 cup of rice. So I think like if you look up online like daily portion sizes,
Okay.
you'll probably find like good like explanation of that.
Gazette Kulakhir. Thank you. I'm sorry.
No problem. Sister Haja.
Assalamu alaikum, sister. Thank you for the presentation. I believe you mentioned about glucose from the breakdown of carbohydrates.
Yes.
What about fructose and galactose? Are they good for us in this month of Ramadan? That's number 1 question. Then the second question is, are you conversant with a palm oil, with an oil called palm oil? Because most of we, the African, will use that most often in our diet, especially anytime, like during the month of Ramadan or any other time. But studies has been done with a conflicting results that it is bad because of the saturated fatty acid. But other studies said it is good. And sometimes Dr. Oz even mentioned about it, praising the palm oil that is good. My question on that second one is, during your study in school, have you ever done a literature review on it? Or do you have any idea about it?
I haven't in school, I haven't specifically done anything like research anything about palm oil, but I have like read up about some stuff, and like especially in America, palm oil is very processed. So you're not really getting like what you might have gotten from like your original country where you used to use palm oil, if that makes sense.
Maybe.
So
yeah.
like
Maybe.
palm oil is very similar to how canola oil is over here. So it's not the best form. I think like a better alternative would be to use like avocado oil.
Okay, I see.
Or even coconut oil is good.
Yeah. How about the fructose and galactose? Are they good for us in this month of Ramadan?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like all carbohydrates break down into like simple sugars.
Mm-hmm.
And so like fruit is good for you, but like obviously in moderation. Any carb you should eat in moderation because too much of it can be bad for you.
I see. Thank you. Barakallahu feekum.
Come back, please.
Inshallah. All right.
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Hafsa. And thank you for accepting my invitation. Sorry, I'm just fixing my scarf.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, I think Sister Muluk has a question.
Yes, thank you so much, sister. This is big orientation for us. What about how do we control? Because we fried sambusa, we fried egg roll, we fried a lot of things we fried. How do we control for our kids that want how many portion, for example, sambusa, egg roll, cookie, everything? How do we control that one?
Well, I guess just eating like one, like I feel like one or two might be like I think fried foods are like good for like once a week or twice a week type of thing, and eating only one or two, because like if you eat it every single day, then that's going to cause problems.
Oh, okay. Okay, shukran, jazakumullah khair. Thank you so much.
I don't know if anybody still have any questions, or I guess.
Hello,
Yes, Sister Muluk,
Yes.
do you have another question?
No, I'm just worried about for the kids, you know, we fried, they like sambusa, egg roll. I don't know how can we control that. Thank you so much. I got it. She answered me. Thank you.
Bye-bye. You're welcome. Okay, I guess we don't have any more questions. So Sister Hafza, thank you so. Okay. Yes, I'm Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It is not a question, it is a recommendation to Sister Hafsa. The sister asked about the quantity of the fruit, how much we can take as a fruit, either with the skin of the fruit or we take the skin out. Not the banana, I'm talking about the other fruit. During the night, because there is no eating as a heavy meal, maybe you replace that with the fruit, and the fruit you can make all the rest as halal fruit, inshallah ta'ala. What is the quantity? 1 pound, half a pound, more or less? Avoiding the grape, because I know the grape has too much sugar.
Yeah, so a lot of fruit is actually made up of sugar, which is why it's not good to eat a lot of it, but a cup of fruit a day is a good amount to have. So you could split that between your suhoor time and your iftar time, or eat it all at iftar or all at suhoor. And also the skin is very good for like you shouldn't peel off the skin from your apples and your pears, and like those are good for your digestion, and you get good fiber from that part of the fruit.
But are you aware about the apple? When you take 2, 3, 4 apple and you put them in the hot water for a few, maybe second, hot water, you cannot put your hand in, then you can see a white stuff coming out of the skin of the apple, and they said that looks like something whenever the body adjusted. Are you aware about it, or just new information come to you?
I think I kind of know what you're talking about, but yeah, so that's why. So like if you guys are interested in this, but there's something called a dirty dozen foods, which are like produce that you should never buy if it's not organic, because those are heavily sprayed with pesticides. And I think some of those fruits are like apples, strawberries, blueberries. These are all like they're heavily sprayed with pesticides, so we should only eat them if they're organic. So maybe that's what you're talking about, like peeling off the skin from.
Yeah, really, because that is in the market on the major store. When you touch it, looks like a plastic. You are not touching, because we came from the farm, and Maissa, inshallah ta'ala, going to see the farm, inshallah, soon in Lebanon. We have that. We never put spray on it. But after they collected, they put the spray. When you touch it, you are touching the plastic. You are not touching the fruit.
Yeah. So that's why it's really important to have organic fruit and vegetables, because they're usually not sprayed with those pesticides. So I guess if you are buying non-organic, then you should peel off the peels, but still those pesticides still get leached inside of the fruit.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair, and may Allah reward you and your parents. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, Sister Noor.
That brought up a couple things. One for him is sometimes, especially for apples, they put a type of wax on it, so they look pretty for everything. Please, other countries, don't import this part of the US. We've done really bad for our food. Going back to fruit juices, how do you like juicers at home so we can make our own fruit juices? Or do you think we can do it with blenders or what?
Yeah, fruit juices from home are good for you, except the thing is about fruit, like any type of juice, like vegetable juices are great, but like fruit juices, you're concentrating all the sugar into like one small glass. So like instead of eating one apple, you're drinking like this much juice. And that's just a lot of sugar for our body to handle, which could be bad for like people with blood sugar issues. But other than that, it is a better option than buying fruit juice from the store.
Jazakallah khairan. Again, come back.
Yes, inshallah, we would love to have you again, Sister Hafza. And if you can, please, the speaker ends up the halaqah with a dua. So if you can make a dua before we end up the halaqah.
I pray, inshallah, that this Ramadan is filled with blessings and many, sorry, I did not prepare this. But I hope that, inshallah, we start off this blessed month on a good note and we are ready to reap the rewards of this blessed month ahead of us.
Ameen. Ameen. May Allah help us to fast and pray, inshallah.
Ameen.
I don't know. I don't see any of the my father or brother Maraj. So I guess we can end with Surah Al-Asr and then we can just hang up. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر جزاكم الله خيرا جميعا. We see you إن شاء الله.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed.
Yes, Ahmed, give him love. I don't know if he's still with us.
Oh,
See him.
Mini Maissa.
Yes.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
Here's Ahmed.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum salam. I guess we just have to hang up because none of the hosts are here.
She's not there?
No, I don't know. Let's call him. No, wait, let's call Baba Su'ad.
السلام عليكم ميسا.
وعليكم السلام. وعليكم السلام طب حفيظة.
كيف الحال؟
الحمد لله، كيفك أنت؟
الحمد لله ما شاء الله. فين بابا؟
والله مش عارفة، أنا في البيت وهو دخل وبعدين ما أعرفش، يمكن كان يصلي أو يعني أنا مش عندهم في البيت.
إن شاء الله مرة ثانية إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله.
ماشي بالسلامة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مع السلامة.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Wait, no. Come say hi to Ahmed. Say hi, Ahmed. I'm going to show him.